Let's get to our next question. This one coming in on YouTube from @TheConnorJoeTrade. His question is, who do you guys see the Mariners picking in this upcoming 2024 MLB Draft?
So I think TJ and I are both going to throw some names out here for people. Look, we're not experts. We're not like our friend Joe Doyle, who could tell you every single thing about every player in this draft and break it down to a T. But we'll start with this. We'll save players for in a minute here, but let's start with the basic idea of, I think it's time for the Mariners to go back to drafting some college guys. They had a very clear plan the first couple of years Jerry and crew took over the reins in this org, which was build up the college arms. Well, actually build up college talent, period, because first 2 drafts, Kyle Lewis, Evan White. Next 3, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Emerson Hancock. After that, they said, we've got some established arms. We're building up our starting pitching. Now it's time to build up some young, high upside, potential star bats. So they went Harry Ford, Cole Young, the 3 first-rounders last year. They've signed some international guys who have been awesome. Lazaro Montes, Felnine, etc. But that's where all the talent is, right? You've got all these guys you drafted as college arms that are in the big leagues now, or close to it if you want to throw in Hancock. And then you have all these guys you drafted and signed over the last few years down in Arizona, Modesto. If you want to throw in Cole and Harry, okay, they're in AA, but they're young. There is when you look at like rosters and who's on it by level, there is some missing gap of talent here. We're at the AA, AAA-ish levels. So with that said, I think it makes a lot of sense now for the Mariners to go back to drafting some college arms, college players, whether it be bats or arms, to replenish that system in terms of getting guys who can get up to the big leagues in the next 14 months.
Right, and that plays off the point I just made, like top 7 prospects, all 21 or younger, and all hitters. So preferably arms, but there's not as many arms around the Mariners' number 15 pick as you would like. So the Mariners are going to have to keep their eyes open to college bats as well. But the idea is somebody that can be established in AA, knocking on the door of the big league next year, on the big leagues next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously consider it, like a 22 to 23-year-old by next year. That is almost big league ready, depending on how old he is. So here's the names I had down. James Tibbs is an outfielder from Florida State. Cameron Smith, a Florida State third baseman. Vance Honeycutt, he fell down draft boards, I think, a little bit. I think people, especially after his freshman year, had him as more of a 5-tool guy. He still is a 5-tool guy. He's just got a lot of swing and miss. He had that walk-off home run in the regional against LSU. That was against LSU, right? Was it against LSU?
I know he had a walk-off.
Regional.
He had a walk-off home. No, UNC didn't play LSU in a super regional, so it must have been the regional.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, he's got a sweet swing. He's got a lot of swing and miss. And then a couple of pitchers, Trey Savage from Eastern Carolina, and then Brody Brecht from Iowa. Some really good stuff with those two. But that's just like a handful of guys. The problem is, where the Mariners pick, at least when you look at pre-draft rankings, it's a lot of high schoolers right now.
There's some college guys that factor into it. So Kylie McDaniel of ESPN had Yi Savage going 15 to the Mariners. And honestly, that would be a guy that would probably be a perfect fit. Now, there's some people that think Yi Savage will go higher and he won't fall to pick 15. But again, college arm, had a great year at East Carolina, could be up in the big leagues again in the next 14 months, had an awesome, awesome year this year. Like, that would be a very ideal fit. If he doesn't get there, though, I think you start looking at some of the bats. And again, you mentioned Tibbs, you mentioned Cam Smith, you mentioned Honeycutt. Like, Honeycutt as a player is awesome. It's just, are the Mariners going to want to take another bat that has swing and miss issues? Not that any of the guys they've drafted in the past have swing and miss issues, but as we're seeing at the big league level, that's the overarching theme. Are you going to take another bat like that?
He right now has a projected 30 hit tool at the big league level.
Yeah. So
that's pretty bad.
So maybe they stay away from him. The other guy that I was going to throw out there, who a lot of mock drafts seem to have right now linked to the Mariners, is Seaver King, who plays infield and outfield. He's from Wake Forest. He played 2 years at Wingate, which is Division II, I believe. Yep. And then he transferred to Wake Forest, had a great year. If you want his numbers exactly, 16 homers, 954 OPS. And again, he can play some infield and some outfield. So he's been linked in mock drafts to the Mariners a little bit. But I think the point here is, of all the names we've thrown out, college arm, college bat seems the most logical.
Mm-hmm. And who won't the Mariners get, Lyle?
Yeah, I was going to throw this out. So if you're listening to this question and you're about to send us a comment saying, well, what about Jack Caglione? What about Braden Montgomery? What about Hagen Smith? Those guys would be awesome, but they're probably going to go a little too early, which is why we didn't bring those guys up. And if you're really going to take it a step further and say, well, what about Travis Bazzana, Charlie Condon, or Chase Burns? I would encourage you to go look at any mock draft and then come back to us, because those three guys will not be there probably after pick 3 and almost certainly not after pick 5.
If you guys can find a way for Jerry to trade up and get those guys, we're all ears. Please let us know how they do that.
Last thing, the Mariners probably will not do this, because if you're just thinking of baseball sound decisions, taking a DH/first baseman in the first round doesn't really feel like Jerry and Justin's MO. However, in terms of fun picks, Tommy Tanks would be a pretty fun pick.
Tommy Tanks would be pretty fun. That dude rakes. He hits a lot of dingers. But he's supposed to go in the 20s, right?
I think right around 20, 21, at least from the mock drafts I've seen.
Yeah.
So he's
played third base, though.
Do you really think he's going to be a third baseman in the big leagues?
Never know. Probably not.
That's what I'm getting at. He is probably a first baseman /DH.
Right.
It doesn't feel like they'd make that pick. However, if they made it, I'd be hyped. Because again, like, not only is he a great hitter with a bunch of power, but it's just a fun guy to have in the system. Like, he brings such a brand with him, like an aura.
I thought you were going to say Caglione for a sec. I was like, well, yeah, Lyle, he's supposed to be a top 6 pick, and he throws gas.
Well, that'd be great. But again, as I kind of prefaced, he probably won't be there. You know what? Let me do this too. For those who don't know the name Jack Caglione, because some of you listening might not know all these players in the draft yet, he is a first baseman /outfielder /pitcher at Florida. Now, he's not going to be a pitcher at the next level. People are drafting him for his bat, but he's a popular player. Florida's going to be in the College World Series, and I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on him. So, yeah, in case you don't know him, there you go.
Yeah, he just hit 33 bombs in back-to-back years. It's pretty good.
It's not bad. So, I know he's got the nickname Jack Tawney, but he's not going to be pitching at the next level. He'll be hitting.
No, he won't.